Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here. Let me tell you about Robert. He's 72, retired, kind, still sharp as ever. For most of his life, he was the kind of person who never sat still. But over the last year, something's changed. He still walks to the store, still makes coffee for his wife. But lately he's been holding the railing tighter, pushing off chairs with both hands. One day, while getting up from the couch, he paused. Not because he was in pain, but because he wasn't sure if his legs were strong enough. He brushed it off. "I'm just getting older," he said. But what Robert didn't realize is that he wasn't just aging. He was losing muscle, quietly, slowly, without even knowing it. And he's not alone. Muscle loss, or sarcopenia, affects nearly half of all adults over 60. But it doesn't happen with alarms. It happens with small moments. In this episode, we're going to break the silence. I'll show you how to recognize the early signs that your strength is fading, why this matters far beyond just your legs, and how to stop that decline before it takes more than just your balance. At the end, I'll also share one simple signal your body gives you every day. That could mean your muscles are in trouble. Stay with me. This is where strength begins. It often starts with something so small, you don't even notice. One day, you find yourself pushing up from a chair using both hands instead of just standing. The next, you grab the stair rail, not because you're afraid, but because you just feel more secure with it. You shift your weight more often when standing. You pause before getting up. You start preferring the elevator over the stairs, even if it's just one floor. And when you do walk, you notice your pace has slowed. Not because you meant to, it just happened. These are the things no one talks about, because they're quiet, subtle. They don't scream something's wrong, and so you brush them off. "I'm just tired today. It's probably the weather. I didn't sleep well last night." But the truth is, these are the first signs, the early whispers of something deeper, something that doesn't show up on scans or blood tests, but shows up in how you move through the world. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. These subtle shifts are often the very first signs of age-related muscle loss, a condition known as sarcopenia. And the problem is, they come slowly. You don't wake up one morning and realize, "I've lost 10% of my strength." No, it slips away one habit at a time. You sit a little more, move a little less, do fewer things that challenge your body. And your muscles, well, they respond. Because here's the hard truth. Your body only keeps what it thinks you need. If you stop climbing stairs, your body thinks, "She doesn't need this leg strength anymore." If you stop standing for long periods, it says, "Let's not waste energy keeping these muscles active." It's not punishing you. It's adapting. And that's the most dangerous part, because the body doesn't see comfort as a warning sign, but we should. The moment comfort becomes avoidance, that's when decline begins. So today, I want to invite you to notice. Notice if you're leaning more than you used to, if your legs feel heavier, if you pause before standing. These aren't signs of just getting old. They're signs your muscles are whispering to you. And if you listen now, you can keep them strong before they disappear quietly. So, what exactly is happening when those little changes start to appear? There's a name for it, but most people have never heard it. It's called sarcopenia. It sounds technical, I know, but its meaning is simple. Sarx, muscle. Penia, loss. Muscle loss. Not from disease, not from injury, just from time. Starting in your 30s, your body begins to lose about 3 to 5% of its muscle mass per decade. That means by the time you're 60, you could have already lost 15 to 20% of your muscle and not even realize it. And after 60, the pace picks up. For many people, it becomes 8% per decade or more. Not because you've done something wrong, but because the body stops prioritizing what you don't use. Think of muscle like a bank account. If you keep making deposits by walking, lifting, standing, it grows. But if you stop using it, stop investing, it quietly shrinks day by day. And here's what makes it tricky. Muscle doesn't just affect how strong you feel. It affects your balance, your metabolism, your blood sugar regulation, your immune system, even your brain health. Because your muscles are like engines. When they run well, they support every system. But when they shrink, so does everything else. That's why sarcopenia is often called a silent condition, because it doesn't hurt. It doesn't give you a warning bell. It shows up in subtle ways. You avoid stairs. You sit longer. You feel unsteady reaching for something on a shelf. And slowly, you lose more than strength. You lose confidence, independence, and for many, it becomes a cycle. Less movement, more muscle loss, less energy, more sitting, and the spiral continues. But here's the most important thing I want you to remember from today's episode. Sarcopenia is preventable. It's not a life sentence. Your muscles can rebuild at any age. In fact, some studies show that people in their 70s and 80s can gain muscle just as effectively as someone in their 30s when they do the right things. And that's what we're going to talk about next. In tomorrow's episode, I'll walk you through 5 early signs your legs are getting weaker and what you can start doing today to get your strength back. Until then, keep moving, even if it's just a little. Your muscles are listening. Most people think muscle loss is just about strength. I'm not lifting heavy things anymore, so who cares if I'm not as strong as I used to be? But here's what they don't realize. Muscle isn't just about lifting. It's about everything. Your heart rate, your blood sugar, your hormones, your balance, even your brain. Your muscles are your second metabolism. They burn energy even when you're resting. So when you lose muscle, your metabolism slows. You start gaining fat even though you're not eating more. Your blood sugar stays higher for longer. Your insulin becomes less effective. And here's something most people don't expect: the link between muscle and memory. Studies show that older adults who maintain their muscle mass and physical strength have better cognitive function, clearer thinking, better memory, sharper mood. Why? Because when you move your body, you increase blood flow to your brain. When you challenge your muscles, your brain gets stronger too. That's why losing muscle silently robs more than just your strength. It takes away your mental energy, your motivation, and even your sense of self. Think about it. When you don't feel stable standing, you avoid going out. When you avoid going out, you interact less with people. When you lose that social connection, your brain and mood suffer. It's not just about weak legs. It's about losing your world, piece by piece. And here's something even more serious. Falls. One of the biggest risks for older adults. Not because of clumsiness, but because muscle strength in the lower body has quietly faded. A small trip that could have been caught 10 years ago, now it ends in a hospital, a broken hip, months of recovery, or worse, never walking independently again. That's why I'm passionate about helping people notice the signs earlier. Because muscle loss is more than a physical issue. It's the foundation of independence. And once that foundation cracks, everything on top becomes unstable. But here's the good news, and we'll talk more about this in our next episode. Your legs are usually the first to weaken, but also the first to respond when you start moving again. Even simple habits can rebuild lost strength if you start now. Tomorrow, I'll guide you through the 5 early signs that your legs may be getting weaker and show you what to do about it. Don't miss it, because you're not just protecting your strength, you're protecting your future. Here's the part that no one tells you. Muscle loss rarely happens in isolation. It's almost always part of a chain reaction, a slow, silent spiral. It starts with something small, like sitting a little longer than usual because you feel tired. Then you avoid stairs because your legs feel heavy. Then you start skipping walks altogether, because what's the point if you're just going to feel sore? And just like that, in a matter of months, your world shrinks. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually. You stop going to the market alone. You stop playing with your grandchildren. You stop bending down to pick something up from the floor because you're not sure if you can get back up easily. You tell yourself you're just being careful, but in truth, it's fear. And fear of falling, of being vulnerable, is one of the most powerful forces that drives muscle loss even further. Because fear leads to inactivity. Inactivity leads to weakness, and weakness leads to more fear. It's a vicious cycle, and it doesn't stop there. As your body gets weaker, so does your confidence. Your world becomes smaller. You stop going out at night. Stop saying yes to invitations. Not because you don't want to, but because deep down a voice whispers, "What if I fall? What if I can't keep up? What if I can't get up?" And that's how muscle loss steals more than strength. It steals freedom. But here's the powerful truth. That spiral can go in the other direction. Every small action, every time you choose to move instead of sit, to stand instead of lean, sends a signal to your body. Hey, I still need this. And the body listens. Even after 60, even after 70, you can interrupt the spiral, but first you have to see it. You have to recognize the habits you've slipped into, not with shame, but with awareness. And that's what we're doing in this series. We're building awareness so you can build strength. Starting tomorrow, I'll share the 5 earliest signs that your legs may be losing strength, and what you can do, even today, to reverse that decline. Because your future isn't lost. It's waiting for you, just a few steps ahead. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Today, we talked about something that most people ignore until it's too late. But you're different. You're paying attention. And that alone sets you on a different path. You now know that those small, everyday changes, the way you get up, the way you stand, the way you hesitate on the stairs, they matter. You understand that muscle loss doesn't start with pain. It starts with comfort, with sitting a little longer, moving a little less. And you've seen how that slow decline can steal more than just strength. It can take away your freedom, your confidence, even your joy. But here's what I want you to remember as we wrap up. It's never too late to turn things around. Your muscles are still listening, and they're waiting for a signal from you. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the 5 subtle signs your legs may be getting weaker, and how to spot them before they show up on a scan or in a hospital report. These signs are so common, Most people overlook them, but once you know what to look for, you can act. So be sure to subscribe or follow this podcast. And if this episode made you pause or made you think of someone you care about, consider sharing it. Because small awareness leads to strong change. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay strong, stay curious, and keep walking forward.